Franchise Sports Media!
Hello and welcome to another edition of the main event. I am your host, Damon King Cotton. You can follow me on all social media platforms at Damon_the boss. To my right,
Kalani Lua, KLUA11.
to my left.
Griffin Camp 51.
All right, guys, another exciting weekend in the world of combat sports. I mean, I can say it each and every week. Something to see, whether the boxing world is giving us something each and every week. The UFC definitely giving us a show every time out with that UFC Fight Night card in Denver. So I'll open the floor to you guys. Well, first off, Griffin, let's start with a little rumor that you saw. What's the rumor with the UFC 306 before we get into the recap of the weekend? What's the news that something we may have a headline for that UFC 306 card inside the sphere?
It's a hot little topic. It's going around on social media. We got two somewhat breaking news fight announcements. We got possibly allegedly. We can't, until we see Dana White in the on the Instagram story, we can't confirm it yet. But rumors are going around that Ilia Topuria versus Max Holloway for the featherweight title, that could possibly be at the Sphere in September. And then we also have Sean O'Malley versus Merab for the bantamweight title. Two title fights on an event where Dana White has come out and been very vocal about wanting it to be the biggest event, something that rivals UFC 300, something that anybody who tries to attempt a sporting event at the Sphere after this will not be able to match. So that's the only reason why I give this a little bit of support, but we still got to wait and see for the confirmation.
Interesting. Looks like if the UFC is going to go there, they don't want to miss. They get a big opportunity, a big target on their hand. They don't want to miss at all. So they want to put all their cards on the deck and make sure that they come in full force. Like you said, anybody coming afterwards, you have a tall mountain to climb here. I love it. If they were to put either one of these matches, let alone both of them on there, I think it'd be a fantastic showing for such an event like the Sphere, Las Vegas. That'd be a spectacle in itself. Those matches too, dynamite. Good combination there. I'm very interested to see when we do get the confirmation if it's them or something else.
Yep.
All right, I find that it's kind of a little hard to believe that the UFC would put those two big championship fights on the same card. I know that Dana White has mentioned that the Sphere is going to be something that we've never seen before. And since those reports haven't been confirmed, I'm more in a wait-and-see mode. But something that we don't have to wait and see about are the results from UFC Fight Night. Namajunas versus Cortez that took place in Ball Arena inside of Denver, Colorado, just this past weekend. All right, guys. Now, this was one of those cards. We know that the main event was something that everyone was going to be excited about. Rose Namajunas versus Tracy Cortez, UFC Women's Flyweight Division bout here. Tracy Cortez even had to sacrifice a piece of herself, that being her hair, to make weight. And I know maybe that pained Griffin, or he wanted to say, take me instead.
She still looked gorgeous.
Shout out to that. But this card in general, guys, what were some of your takeaways? Give me some of the fights that you were intrigued by. Of course, the main event. But were there any other fights on this card that you said, man, that really stood out to me? I'll start with you, Kalani.
Well, obviously, we got to go to the Drew Dober, Jean Sylvia fight. That fight in itself was amazing. To see someone like Drew Dober go out there, continuously push forward, despite getting that massive cut. And then Sylvia, look, I'll be the first to admit, he was somebody I said a couple weeks ago I was not voting for him because he didn't have a Wikipedia page. He's got 2 knockouts since then. He's got 2 finishes since then. So I apologize, but hey, my reasoning still stands. That's how it is. But hey, he's proven all of us wrong, proven to be a true, legit challenger at lightweight. Drew Dober, win, lose, or draw, this man puts on a show. It's unfortunate that the referee had to stop it, but look, it was on the eyebrow. If it's above the eyebrow, it could have possibly been let on, because if it's on the eyebrow, if I'm not mistaken, you have a chance of messing up your retina and goes into the eye muscle. But if it's right above it, well, that's more so towards your forehead. We see them boxing a lot of times. That's where I get it from. I wasn't good at science class, y'all. But it was an amazing fight. I don't know if somewhere down the road they'll try to run it back. But anytime those two are fighting, Drew Dober, we know is going to put on the show. Sylvia is starting to show us that when his name is on the card, make sure that's the fight you watch, because he's must-see right now.
Okay. I'm going to go the other direction. I'm going to go and look at the co-main event. This was an absolute boring fight. It's just the skill level wasn't there. The storylines weren't there. The hype wasn't there. I wasn't impressed. You can say, oh, it's just a fight night card. Who cares? If you're a co-main event, be a co-main event.
That part.
Be entertaining. Have something to deliver. And if it's nothing else, at least the 2 men or women in the cage should be able to perform in a way that gives the fans something worthy to watch. All right? It was just not great, not entertaining. We need something more. If it's the UFC's deal with the ESPN that's making it so they just put out whatever they want every single weekend on Saturday nights, that's just not going to fly. The brand of the UFC needs to be elite of the elite. Let's keep it that way.
All right, for me, something that stood out to me is I remember this guy talking to him on International Fight Week last year, and that's Julian Erosa, as he gets the first round submission finish, where sometimes there are these cagey UFC veterans that you think, oh man, that guy's been around for a long time. Is he ever gonna climb to the top of the mountain? But sometimes there are those guys where, like we always say this, guys that just come to the UFC and they are gonna give you an entertaining fight. I mean, jumping Gilly first round, getting it, and then getting silly with the Gilly, and you getting it right there. That's why he's one of those guys that's just game. And yes, maybe he'll get knocked out. Maybe he won't always have the best fights or, climb that mountain, but he's a guy that you see this performance, getting that guillotine in the first round. I was very impressed with Julian Erosa in that fight. And like I said, I'm always rooting for guys that are good to me. It was one of those times where you're talking to a guy and you're like, man, I've been talking to Julian Erosa for about 15 minutes. This dude's cool. This dude's cool as hell.
Right on.
So when to see him get that very impressive submission finish, that was one of those where you're getting bonuses and Uncle Dana, taking care of guys after the fight. For me, that was one of those finishes. He earned himself a little bit extra with that one.
No, he definitely did. And like you said, he's one of those veterans where, yeah, maybe he may not be the face of the company, or the face of the division. Maybe not be a champion, 7-time champion, et cetera, but he is someone that when he's on the card, watch his fight. He's entertaining. Oh, you want to sit there and come in, think you're going to autograph with me? Give me that neck real quick. You want to stand up? I'll trade with you a little bit. I'll be a huckleberry. And then like you said, you did a nice little flex there. You got to interview him, talk to him for about 3 hours. That's super awesome. Shows that he's down to earth, but when he's in the cage, boy, oh boy, murderer. So it's good to see him get that in. Really, for all these fighters out there, they go out there, they put so much on the line, short week notice, long-term training camp, to go out there and finally put on performance and showcase what you can do. It's awesome.
Also, quick shout out. I know it's not Montel Jordan, but Montel Jackson. This is how we do it. Performance of the night with that quick work, knockout, making quick work of Damon Blackshear. That's just one of those. Hey, got to just give a quick shout out to that. And then something else that I do want to move on to. Is there any more notes before we move on from this UFC Fight Night card?
I got one. And the fact that you look at Tracy Cortez, who stepped in on a week's notice, had to cut her ponytail off to make weight. The fact that she went the full distance to go all the way, you got to give shout outs to her on that one. That's why I said if she's able to have a full training camp, I wouldn't mind seeing this fight somewhere down the road again, because she didn't really have a lot of moments, but the fact that she was able to stay in there, withdraw, kept trying to push forward. I mean, even at the end, she tried to pull the Max Holloway, pointing to the ground. Rose was like, nah, I'm good.
Soft.
Well, you know what? It's interesting because afterwards, Rose said, hey, I wouldn't mind a champion, or let's fight for the baddest woman on the planet. And it's almost like, well, that was your opportunity right there to kind of show, hey, this is what we can be about. But we all know the Rose is about that business. So she was like, hey, I already got it in the bag. I'm not going to mess up my good looks. But it was impressive from both women, but especially Cortez to step in and to go the full distance. I was very impressed by that.
Yeah, real quick, don't let Max Holloway hype you up. If you already got the fight in the bag, you ain't got nothing to prove. Like, everybody don't need that gladiator moment. But I mean, and Griffin, I do want to say, I know that you're a little upset about Tracy Cortez losing that fight, but Hot Girl MMA did go 1 for 2 on the night, as Luana Santos did get the rear naked choke submission victory. So, half and half on Hot Girl MMA. Hot Girl MMA summer on that card. Dana White was really doing something for the fans like Griffin, who, wanted to see a little shaking in the cage after the win. You got that with Luana Santos, in the prelim card.
It's a Hot Girl MMA summer, boys. We're getting Hot Girl summer. Let's go.
You the type that be excited when they show the ring girls coming down and whatnot. Like, yeah, you know all of my name, don't you?
Oh, she followed me. Oh, she didn't follow me. It was a fake account.
Not.
But it's nice to drink.
That's hilarious.
My man.
Hey, I'm getting close. I'm in there.
When a fake account does it, it's only a matter of time before the real one does it.
Yeah. At least I'm on somebody's radar. Somebody knows that I exist. All right, and another great fight that we saw this past weekend, Duran Boots Ennis coming out, defending his IBF welterweight championship. Now, this is one of those performances. Now, I hate to make another great fighter's performance about someone else, but I saw a perfect tweet and it said, Boots Ennis did what Shakur Stevenson thought he was doing. And that's come out there and beat up on a, let's just say it, lower ranked opponent. Where someone that people might say, oh, why aren't you fighting Bud yet? Well, Boots went out there and said, okay, maybe this guy isn't someone that fans want to see me fight, but I'm about to go in there and make light work out of him. And you saw it from the first round where he came out aggressively and said, hey, I'm going to jab the body, I'm going to work the body all night long. One of those shots where sometimes, you know that old phrase where I feel like it's a little overrated because I've never seen it happen, but I'm sure it's true because somebody had to say it. He's going to be pissing blood for a week. And those were the type of shots that he was giving him where it was like, he's going to be pissing blood for a week. And we saw that where it was after the 6th round, he didn't want to come off the stool and then gets the technical knockout.
No mas.
So Boots Ennis, I think after that performance that he gave us, welterweight 154, I think that the only logical conclusion that fans should want to see, His Excellency, I can be bought, Saudi. His Excellency even said it that he wants to see him fight Bud Crawford next. What do you guys think?
I would love to see it because he did, like you said, what Shakur should have did. You get the stage, you get the lights on you, you get the attention. Go out there and show us why you need to step up in competition, why you should be across from one of the champions. Go out there and show us, and he did. He went out there. He's 32-0, 29 knockouts, went to the body. Now there have been fighters that said that they were pissing blood for days or weeks afterwards. So we have heard that.
Like I said, it had to happen to somebody.
Look, somebody did. But I was thoroughly impressed by it because going to the body in boxing is tough. A lot of fighters don't do it because you leave yourself open for counter punches because you're going to the body. What? Your hands are low. So that leads counters to come up. But he went in there, stayed to it, and he did what I saw, what we do early. Sometimes we watch MMA fights or even boxing matches. They'll try to do leg kicks, body shots, middle or late in the rounds. It's like, buddy, you should have been throwing them leg kicks in the first round. What are you doing throwing in the 3rd round if it's a 3-round fight? What are you doing throwing in the 4th and 5th round? It's a 5-rounder. No. First round, you need to do that. He said, hey, hold my beer real quick. I'm going to stay on business. So kudos to him for going out there, taking his chance, this opportunity with what Shakur did in his last 2 fights and becoming a free agency. His name and his value slipped a little bit, and it's right up there. He might just slide right in and take that spot that was meant for Shakur, but he fumbled. He missed his opportunity. He had a shot, but he missed.
I just noticed the year.
What?
There's some things in the news that came up that could relate to that.
Oh, no, not at all.
We'll talk about that.
This
is not that type of show.
No.
Absolutely. Congrats to Boots. We literally saw a boxer do what boxers should be doing, at least the ones who want big names and big checks. You can beat on a guy who nobody has his poster up on their wall. That guy needs to be a beat. That guy needs to be, you need to put out a performance, and that's exactly what Boots did. And then the fact to call out for Terrence Crawford. Showing what a real fighter in the boxing world can look like. And anybody who wants to be successful needs to follow this format. Beat on these lower end guys, beat on them, show that you are dominant, and then call, and don't just go out there. Honestly, I'm going to throw a little shot at Canelo. Don't be dancing around it. Don't be dancing around we'll see maybe the contract, maybe. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Unless you were ready to call out a big name and sign that contract, keep that mouth shut and stay on the lower division while the big dogs eat.
What? What? Oh, yep. There's a difference between being chased and being the chaser. When I'm already at the top of the mountain, I don't call nobody out. You're chasing me. I'm the champion. I'm the big name in boxing. What the hell I got to call people out for? You prove to me why you need to be up here at the top of the mountain with me. That don't make no sense. If I'm the champion of the welterweight division in the UFC, why am I calling anyone out? I'm the one you're all climbing the hill to fight. You come after me. No. I get your logic. You know, dancing around if they ask my name. I get that. I'm the champion, baby. I'll wait and see.
Real quick, in the UFC does make the fight, so you can't be ducking anyone in the UFC.
No, of course.
So it doesn't make that much sense. Hey, if you want to call somebody out, if someone's on a 10-fight win streak and they're undefeated and they're number 1 ranked, and everybody wants to see it in the UFC, that fight's going to happen. You can't duck them.
Exactly. But if it's not just one guy calling out for the king, if the entire fan base, if the other boxers are kind of talking, everyone's in the business, in the industry is talking, they're saying, oh, this guy's this guy's big. He's fast. He's dangerous. It makes nothing but sense for him to fight him next. And then we're not even going to say names. We'll keep names private.
Okay.
Only the legit fans will know what we're talking about.
Okay, fair enough.
If you're going to sit there after a win over another guy, again, there's no poster of him on any little kid's bedroom. If you are not, he's beating on guys like that. Everyone is seeing all these other big name boxers go with these big matchups. Everybody else is fighting big names. So why is it that you keep staying there if you're supposedly the face of the sport? Let's get in there with the guy that everybody is clamoring for. Everybody. It's not just him calling your name. Everyone's like, yeah, fight this guy.
Can I retort?
This time. Go ahead.
Can I retort? On that particular note, he did bring up a good point, which I don't necessarily believe, but it is a good point because we've seen other big name fighters from the past and people have looked at their resume and called out a few things. Well, this guy's 1, 2, 3 weight classes below me. If I beat him, I only beat up a small guy. When Roy Jones moved up to heavyweight, it was a challenge because if you lose to him, you just lost to a light heavyweight. Mm-hmm. Not a cruiserweight. You lost to a light heavyweight. Hell, even cruiserweights don't get the respect when they move up. Holyfield didn't get it at first. Usyk wasn't getting it at first when they moved up to the heavyweight. So I do see that. I'm with you. Fight the big names like you're supposed to. But then I also see the logic. Okay, what's in it for me? Because if I beat him, I just beat up a small guy, then you guys are going to look at my record like we done with other guys who happen to finish 50-0. And we pick apart their resume on, oh, well, this guy was older. He was a lefty. He couldn't see out of his right eye. He doesn't know how to dance, this and that. We do all this other nonsense with other fighters. So that fighter's looking at it like, yeah, y'all ain't going to question my legacy. I'm up here. If he moves up here and wants some, come get some.
Don't hold back the division. Don't hold back the sport. If you want to be the face of boxing, fight the big names. Give the fans what they want. If not, hang them up.
All right, guys, real quick, let's close out the show here with the main event. And that's going to be UFC Fight Night. Amanda Lemos versus Verana Jandiboro.
Vowels.
Are you going to this fight, Griffin? Going to be at the UFC Apex? I mean, you're the man on scene now for ESPN Las Vegas.
You are the big dog on campus.
I don't know about all that. I will say that I have submitted a credential request, so we got to wait and see. But if those credentials do get approved, I will be present for this one.
All right, Griffin's going to be our eyes and ears for this card as number 3, Lemos is going to be taking on number 5, Jean DeRobe. And this is going to be a women's strawweight bout. Also included on this card, the co-main event, you got Brad Tavares taking on Jonghyun Park out of South Korea. Brad Tavares, a local guy, big Raider fan.
Choo! Local brother.
Local.
Yes. And also from the islands, as you can tell there. So, I mean, there are some good fights on this card. I think we know which fight you are the most excited for on this card, with Brad Tavares being the co-main. But even Cody Durden versus Bruno Silva, that's a fight that's going to be taking place on the prelim. So, Griffin, I think that this is going to be a good Apex card. And you also have Muhammad Usman, yes, the brother of Kamaru Usman, on this card, taking on Thomas Peterson. And I think that this is one of those fights. This is that fight for Mo. This might be the chopping block fight for him in the UFC.
No, you know what I'm saying?
Division. This is one of those fights where you can only coast off, and I'm not saying coast off your brother's name, but you can only coast off that Ultimate Fighter season win for so long in the UFC.
Good call.
This isn't the old days where, hey, maybe that could make you a fan favorite. You got a new season of the Ultimate Fighter. It feels like every 6 months now.
Yeah,
in the UFC,
that's true.
especially with the way that the Contender Series is taking off, where you're not the shiny new toy for the UFC that they need to prop up and say, hey, look at our new darling. So for Muhammad Usman, I know that this is a prelim fight, and it might be the first fight on the card. Yeah. But for me, this is one of those fights where I was there. I saw him win that season of The Ultimate Fighter, win that finale. I saw his first fight his first fight in the UFC after winning The Ultimate Fighter. So for me, it's one of those things where I'm not saying that, he loses this fight, he's cut. But this is a real sink or swim moment for him against Thomas Peterson in this UFC Fight Night card.
I couldn't agree with you more. With him being possibly the opening bout of it, it kind of lets you know, like, hey, buddy, you're on a Fight Night card. You're not the main one that we just had in Denver. It's at the Apex. You're the first fight on here. We kind of need to see something from you. Look, even if you lose fights, you got to show us something. You got to show us some signs of improvement, but also, just like on the Contender Series, dude, are you willing to go out there and fight? When his brother was running up through the ranks, he may not have always been the most entertaining, but he dominated every single person. So if you're not going to be the most entertaining fighter, you got to at least dominate your competition. And he's got the name, he's got the look, and he's got a good skill set, but he's got to be able to go out there and prove it. Another fight that you didn't mention, I'm super excited to see him back because I'll try to bring him up before. Got the nickname now, but the Korean Superboy Choi Do Ho. 14-4-1. He's on the fight card. There was a time where this dude was knocking people the hell out and on the rise, but he ran into Cub Swanson. Fight night that they had, but Cub Swanson beat him, derailed that. Then he had to go do his military service. So he's trying to get his feet back under him like Korean Zombie did when he left and trying to get the momentum back. That's a fight I'm really looking forward to. Overall, when you look at this fight card, it may not stand out as, oh my God, this is one of the best, but like you pointed out with some of the matchups and some of the fighters, I think there's room here for a couple of exciting fights that might catch us by surprise on how good they just may be. So I'm very excited about that. It's the main event. That's a grappling fest right there. I hope it's one of those where they just go out there and say, okay, let's see what we can do here. Not the most exciting, but I do think this is going to be a good fight night overall at the Epics.
And if you're looking for a theme real quick to go with this card, I do think that this is a card that is going to be heavily marketed toward the South Korean market, as you have not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 South Korean fighters on this card. So I think that that's going to be a little selling point there for the UFC Griffin.
Yeah. Honestly, my full attention is on the main event because you got Amanda Lemos versus I don't want to mess his name up. Vernia Jan
Yaroba.
One more time.
Yanderoba.
Oh, that's good. I like that, man.
He's clean.
Professional right here.
You got the number 3 versus the number 5 women's strawweights in the world. These two are going to fight, and I will tell you, it's when it comes to the women's strawweight division, you got Zhang Weili fresh off of UFC 300, who she probably has Tatiana Suarez to look forward to next because she is the number 1 contender. Her last fight was in August. She's definitely lined up to face Zhang Weili very soon. But with these two women fighting at the Apex on July 20th, they could settle who's going to be facing the winner of that fight. This is literally in advance. We're getting to see what the women's strawweights division is going to look like for at least the end of the year. I wouldn't be surprised to see one of these women, especially Amanda Lemos. Lemos fights, I like the way she fights. She's aggressive with it. She's clean. She's creative. I think that if she gets this victory over the number 5 ranked woman in the division, then she's definitely, her next fight has to be a title shot.
All right, that's just about going to do it for us here today. But next week, please tune in as we are going to be previewing UFC 304. Edwards versus Muhammad Part 2. And that's going to be taking place from Manchester, bro.
Over there across the border.
You get me.
Fish and shits, mate.
Bro. All that good stuff, yeah. So tune in. Bro. And so tune in, bro. All right. Stay safe and protect yourself at all times, everybody. Peace.